Hello everyone, I'm here recording today just after yesterday's ProQuest. So recording on Sunday, you probably won't get to see this until Wednesday, but we are at the second week of ProQuest number 3 for Flesh and Blood. It's been a fantastic week, really fun weekend of games, and I wanted to record today while it was fresh in my mind, and I was thinking about it. I kind of promised that I would try and have footage from the ProQuest this weekend. That didn't happen. I'm sorry. I'm still not used to doing this sort of thing, and I just, when we're in there and judging, I did not think about it. I got like one picture, which I'll put up, but I just didn't take any footage. So I'm sorry. I'll try and be better next time. Hopefully. I'll probably forget again. So I wanted to talk about very quickly kind of what happened, what went on, right? We were at Level Up in Atlanta, Georgia. A good buddy of mine and I and my play group, Brent, two of us judged their ProQuests and a couple of their other major events. I guess this is our third or fourth now that we've done there. This is a regular thing that we do for them. We used to run events in live action roleplay settings, and so it felt like a very natural thing for us to volunteer to do that here. We really enjoy our community in Flesh and Blood. In fact, I think if Flesh and Blood has anything that is a decided victory in its column in terms of things this game can offer, the community is probably the number one thing that Flesh and Blood is right now bringing to the table that nobody else is in that same way, right? Like, it's just so good that you can go around to these events and have conversations with people, and they're almost uniformly positive experiences. And yesterday was no exception to that. I talked with a good number of people, and every time I did, it was a great experience, a great conversation. Talking about the meta, talking about what they want for outsiders, talking about the day and just how it was going. I'm always asking for feedback on how we did on things, and it was positive, upbeat. People were happy to be there, happy to be playing in the game. That's what I want to see. I want to see that every time at every level. And it's very satisfying to be part of that. So, Brent and I do that, A, because it is a natural outgrowth of what we did for live action role-playing games, where we were running as storytellers for things. Here, we just run as judges. But as a casual player, I'm often not participating in these level events, right? These are the events that I mentioned in one of the previous videos that don't really hold any appeal for me. I don't have any intention to go to a ProTour. I don't need that ProTour invite. It's just not something that is enticing. Now, I'd love to have a gold to gold foil. That sounds lovely. But my odds of winning that gold to gold foil are pretty low to begin with. So rather than involve myself as a player on that level, where it's definitely a more competitive thing, they're really out for the prizing of that, and more power to them. Rather than get wrapped up in that, Brent and I decided, hey, you know what? It's probably way more productive and helpful to the community as a whole if we sign up to judge. Because we're not missing anything if we go to judge those. We wouldn't have been going to it in the first place. So this is a way for us to sort of help out and be an asset to that community, without being a player at the table and worrying about that aspect of it. So we both very early on did our pro our Judge 0 level test and passed it. And then as soon as the timer ran out, we went and did our Judge level 1 test and passed that. We will probably, this year I would guess, do our Judge level 2 test and try and get that done as well. Partially just because the area needs them. We don't have a ton of judges. We do have some, but there aren't massive numbers of them. And I think that we are only enriching both our play and our community by continuing to emphasize the idea that you can be a judge and you can help out. Now, that said, that's not for everybody. There's definitely a degree of stress that goes along with it. I think that before every one of these events, I start freaking out a little bit about, oh my goodness, am I going to call something the wrong way? Am I going to make a big problem somewhere? Is somebody going to be angry about it? There are mistakes that happen. My experience so far has been that the community is pretty understanding. It also helps that we tend to run a fairly quick event. And I think people are thankful when you just figure out how to herd the cats of gamers quickly and efficiently. So looking at this, and by the way, I'm in Atlanta, right? So our field is pretty well stacked. We had 42 players yesterday at the ProQuest, which by itself is a good number, but you also have to remember that Atlanta has a large number of venues. We have like 10 stores that play Flesh and Blood in Atlanta, which means there is literally an armory every night, and 3 days a week there are 2 of them. So just any day of the week, if you want to go play, you probably can somewhere in Atlanta. There were 5 ProQuest events in Atlanta, all of them within an hour drive of each other, probably. I think the farthest ones out would be Showcase and Level Up from each other. Oh, Showcase and Gubu, I guess. But we're talking an hour and 15 from hour and 20 maybe from one end to the other. So 5 different ProQuests, all within driving distance on the first 2 weekends. Next weekend, there's another one down in Macon, which is about 2 hours away. Easily makeable. So the 42 at this event combines with the other 4 events in Atlanta. It's a very active scene. It's a very competitive scene. Yeah, so yesterday we had our biggest showing of heroes. Bravo had 7. Dromai had 5. Dromai had 6. Dash had 5. Oldham and Phi were next at 4 each. And then there were a smattering number of others. I'll try and put up the numbers for everything so that you can see the breakdown of it all. We had a top 8 of Oldham, 2 Bravos, 2 Phis, a Reinar, a Dash, and a Dromai. And that paired down to Oldham and Reinar, Dash, and Bravo. Now our finals were a little compressed because our final game ended up being a concession. One of the players couldn't go, so it made it pretty easy. It also made for a slightly faster day because we had 6 rounds of Swiss and then 2 rounds in the final. Now, when I say we keep things moving, I kept track. Our round 1 player meeting was at 11:30. The round 1 start was at 11:40. And our round 6 start was at approximately 4:30, a little bit less than that. I forgot to write down the exact time for round 6. And we were out, and Brent and I were at dinner at about 7:30 or 8. So it's a long day, but it was a good day. We didn't have that many questions come up. It wasn't that... most of the players know what they're doing, so there weren't a lot of things that they weren't prepared for, which is good. I had spent the week before basically reading over the rules, going over judge questions and making sure that I had a good handle on what might come up. So I felt pretty comfortable with it, but there's always something that happens. I think we had about, I don't know, half dozen judge questions throughout the day, and they were pretty easily handled. So it was a pretty smooth day, and I think it went well. So we got some promos for it, which is kind of the bonus. I love getting these, right? So we got the Proclamation of Reclamation. Hard to see that, but I'll put up a picture maybe. Great little promo for that. It goes along well with my Taipanis, the Adjudicator. Don't know what we're going to do with those yet, since there's not much that they work with yet. Also got my Soraya sleeves. They will add to my other 2 sleeves that I have picked up as a judge. All in all, the bonuses are nice. You know, it's nice of them to acknowledge that yes, there are judges who put in their time and their effort, and we really appreciate that we get a little something to help us out. And then, of course, Level Up is always generous to us. They're very good to us. I have a picture of the materials that they gave out as prizing, so I'll try and put those up. But they gave out extra prize support in the form of 2.5 cases of Tales of Aria, 3 mats that they had, and one of the dragon banners, which was super fun. They gave the dragon banner to the lowest ranked of the day, which was a very nice little surprise for the person at the bottom who stuck it out and had a good time playing. And then I think the only other thing that I wanted to bring up here were that I had some great conversations with players that ran the gamut. Players seem to be in one of 2 places at the moment with the meta. Again, this is the beginning of 2023 in anticipation of Outsiders and before Dynasty. And it's a wide open meta. Some players look at that wide open meta and they get a little discouraged because they're like, well, there's no handful of really good decks that I can count on to perform into whatever. And instead they feel like, well, no, I have the decks I want, but there's always a bad matchup somewhere. And on the other hand, I talked with a lot of players who loved that open meta. They loved the idea that we had every hero, well, not every hero. We had almost every hero, though. We were missing Azalea. We were missing Viscerai. We even had an Arachne at the tables. So great turnout in terms of the meta for our event. And I think a lot of players respond to that open meta with a creativity and a willingness to push the boundaries and play something that is maybe a little surprising. And I love to see that. It is so much fun. That's the creativity that I want in these games. I don't want everybody to be on the same 3 decks. I really want to look around the tables and see that, oh, there's 3 dashes, but they're using 2 entirely different builds. Or, there's a Dromai who's doing things somebody didn't expect over there. Or, any way you look at it, it's interesting. It's fun. And it means I get to sit down, talk to the people who made these decks and see why they made it. What made it exciting for them. We had a guy playing Katsu, playing the full Dynasty Katsu version of Katsu. And I got to talk to him a little bit about the build and about how he enjoyed it. I got to watch him just go all out on a turn or 2 that was super fun. Made for great viewing. So, in short, I do this part of the game, this judging aspect, because I want to give back. And I enjoy being part of the larger community, even if really a lot of the time I'm just playing at my kitchen table. It's so easy to let ourselves feel isolated from anything more. And I think that is potentially shutting us out of interactions that we don't need to be shut out of. So take a moment, go down to an armory, play some games. Have a good time with Flesh and Blood. Thanks. I will talk to you later.